This is Novel Marketing.
I'm Thomas Umstattd Jr.
I'm James L. Rubart.
And this is the show for novelists who want to become best-selling authors.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the most effective ways to get people to leave your website quickly.
Yeah, normally we talk about how to get people to come to your website, but in honor of October, where we talk about scary things, we like to talk about how to scare people away from your website. So you can think of this as the Novel Marketing Halloween special episode.
This is our Halloween special. I love it. Indeed.
So
Thomas, we obviously want people to stay on our websites when they come. So we're doing this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but this is how to get them to come to your website and then immediately leave. So first point would be what?
So you have to realize that a lot of people, when they're browsing the web, are listening to Pandora or Spotify or iTunes. This is the case for me. When I'm at work, my headphones are on most of the time. And so if you want to scare me away from your website, a great way to do this is to have music play in the background. And to really make this even more scary, you want it to be playing in the background with no way for me to pause it or figure out where the music is coming from. And that way it will mix with the song that I'm already listening to and create chaos in my head.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here, Thomas, and talk about the power of sound, because sound can be so powerful in creating emotion. So what if you go to a website and it's just an audio stinger? Maybe it's 3 seconds long. What about something like that?
Still scary. Still doesn't work.
Still not used to it.
Yeah.
In other words.
The only way that music might be able to work is if it were part of a video that I chose to start playing, or if it was a part of some sort of interface where I chose to push play. So websites where people expect music is on like a band's website. But even then, you wouldn't want the music to play automatically. You'd want people to be able to choose to push play. That way they can push pause on Spotify and then start listening to your music on your website.
You seem to be inferring that there are some people maybe that are, searching the web at work where it might not be appropriate for music to be coming out of their speakers, even if they're not wearing headphones.
Yeah, but even when I'm browsing on my phone, I'm typically listening to a podcast or music on my phone even. I'm always playing something. So, and there's an even way to make it even more. If you want to turn it into a real horror show, have the song restart on every single page.
So, I like that.
Yeah, so this way you're just bludgeoning them over the head with just the first few bars of the song over and over again. And if it's a song that you made, this is classic, not only for scaring them away from your website, but also causing them to hate that song. It's kind of like
doing this technique, you could probably get them to leave like within 1 or 2 pages, right?
Within seconds, easily. So yeah, if you want to scare people away from your website, music is a great way to do it. And you are not the exception. Your nice guitar riff and your romantic website for your romance books. No. It is still scary to put music on your website. All right. What's the next thing?
Number 2 is be sure in almost everything you do, focus on yourself, because people don't care about you. They care about themselves. We've talked about this on the podcast often. So consequently, you really want to focus on yourself. I mean, you're the author. You're the star. So put lots of pictures of you, put lots of pictures of your family, talk about personal details of your life that have nothing to do with your book and that people really don't care about. And then when you blog, take it the second level, not just your site and the stuff that stays static, but when you blog, make sure you blog about things that are irrelevant and have nothing to do with your readers and your readers won't resonate with.
That's right, because your perspective, if you want to scare people away from yourself, is to talk about things that people don't care about, what you've had for lunch, your pets, your daily routine. I mean, these things are important to you, and so therefore they must be important to everyone who's visiting your website. I mean, that lunch was pretty amazing, I have to say. I went to this great place.
That's right. All right, Thomas. What's number 3?
Number 3 is similar to number 1. It's auto-playing video. So you've just spent a lot of money on this fancy book trailer, and you want everyone to see the video. And so you have it start every time someone loads your homepage. That big video plays. And, just to add icing to the cake, the audio is turned on. So not only is the video playing, but they're also listening to it. So now they're hearing the music of your video, the words that are in your video, and the music that they're listening to through their headphones for a truly chaotic experience.
I like that. Can I add another tip to even launch it even further into the I'm leaving your website immediately? That would be make it full screen, right? So it's hard to close out of it. It's hard to click back to the actual website. Make that thing huge, fills up every part of their monitor.
That's right. Now, there are ways of doing tasteful video that autoplays. It's that's silent, and it's kind of like an animated picture in certain elements of the website. I've seen this done well, but as a general rule, if you're spending less than $2,000 on your website, you're not going to be able to do it that way, because that requires some pretty sophisticated technology and developers who know what they're doing. I don't think I've ever seen an author build themselves a website that was able to tastefully use auto-playing video. In fact, I've only seen it on really, really high-end sites. So unless you're, New York Times bestselling author and you're dropping some serious coin on your website, you will scare people away with auto-playing video.
Any other bonus tips to drive people away with video, Thomas?
Make it cheesy.
Ooh, I like that. Yes, make it cheesy. Make it something that you'd be proud if a sixth grader did it, but anybody else, it's not going to work.
Yeah, here's the challenge with video. Americans are spoiled. We not only make the best video in the world here in America, but we make the best video in the history of time. This is the era, I think, that hundreds of years from now people are going to be looking back on, and this is the Shakespearean era, Elizabethan era when it comes to quality in film. And so you were competing with some of the greats of all time. I mean, you were living in a time when Steven Spielberg is still alive and Tom Hanks is still alive, and they're still working together to make new films. I mean, you will be telling your grandchildren about this, and they won't be believing you. And for some of you who are old enough to have lived through Alfred Hitchcock even. He was before my time, but we are in the presence of greatness when it comes to video. And that video that you spent $20 for on Fiverr, or that you made yourself, it is not in that league. No offense, but it requires years of study to learn how to make quality video, and you can't learn how to do it in a day.
Okay. Tip number 4: how to scare people away.
Terrible design.
Ooh, I like it.
If you have a ugly website, so you're and again, design is something that you have to study. There's principles. I work at a marketing firm, and we hire designers who study design for 4 years in college, and they still have a lot to learn when they come and start working with us. Good quality design requires understanding of human psychology, human motivation. It requires an understanding of fashion and trends. And it also requires, for web design, an understanding of science and user behavior and usability and how to get people to look and click in certain areas. And if you have a terrible design, it's going to scare people away. Now, if you're on a small budget, there's an easy way to have a great design. And that is to get a relatively nice theme that you pay $50, $100 for a theme, and then don't change the theme. Don't touch it. Don't add paint to a masterpiece. My roommate is convinced that it's a good cook, and wants to change recipes. But the reality is you are not better than Betty Crocker. When you change the recipe, you're not actually making it better. And a lot of people are shocked. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's like, yeah, it was the recipe on the box. Believe it or not, the recipe on the box, 9 times out of 10, is the best recipe, because they could have picked any recipe. The recipe on the box is the one to go with.
Now, Thomas, I gotta say, it seems like you're telling people the right way to do it, and we're really trying to concentrate on the wrong way to do it to drive people away. So let me get back.
Get a free theme and then tweak the heck out of it.
And then tweak it to the heck. The other thing you can do is, if you've already got a site and you don't want to buy a new theme, do this. Do reverse type. In other words, put a black background and put white text on top of that. That studies show people are 30% less likely to read your site when it's white on black. So do that. That's an immediate turnoff for folks.
Yeah, although actually there's some interesting, the science on this is fascinating. For people who, you're exactly right, Jim, for people who learn to read on paper, white on black is very hard for them to read. For people who learn to read on screens, so for millennials and younger, they actually prefer white on black. So the developers in our office actually invert the colors on their computer screens because it's easier for them to read. And so if you're writing YA, especially if you're targeting young men or teenage boys, which, who writes for teenage boys? But let's assume that, you are one of those brave souls that tries to get that group to read. It may be less scary for them than it would be for, say, a baby boomer woman who just finds that really offensive or really difficult to read and very irritating.
Wow, the next thing you're going to tell me, Thomas, is millennials don't know how to read cursive.
We don't. For me, when someone sends me a handwritten note, and sometimes I'll speak at a conference, I get these really sweet handwritten notes. I basically have to translate it. I go word by word and translate it into so I can decipher it, but I can't read it.
So this is a bonus tip we're giving you for your book covers. If you're doing your own book covers, be sure to do it in cursive because you're going to blow off 50% of the population.
Yeah. If you want to just like write off the young readers, put it in cursive because we learn typing instead of cursive in school. So, yeah. Yay for the future. All right, moving on. What's the fifth way we can scare people away from our website, Jim?
Well, put book covers that go nowhere. Since we're talking about Halloween, let's talk about the Winchester Mansion down in California, which came from Sarah Winchester. She built this house to appease the ghosts of all the people, primarily Native Americans, that were killed with the Winchester rifle. So she used her fortune to build this mansion. It's incredibly cool. But one of the things she did when she had the architects and carpenters build this house is she had lots of doors and staircases that went nowhere, right? It didn't go anywhere. And
creepy.
It is creepy, yes. I guess the ghosts could go, through there, but not regular people. So you want to apply the Winchester principle to your book covers where you can't click on them and they don't go anywhere. There's no place for people to buy your book if they click on your cover.
Yeah, people expect to be able to click on a book cover and go to buy the book. And so if your goal is to scare people away, by no means have that book cover click to go to buy that book. You want it to go nowhere. Or, bonus, to make it even scarier, have it load a new page that's nothing but that book cover all by itself on a white screen. Now, that is a spooky thing to happen. And if you're not careful, that's already happening on our website. Go to your website and see what happens with your book covers. If you click on them and they go to just that book cover on your page, scary website.
What's number 6, Thomas?
All right. The sixth way to scare people away from your website is to add continuous motion. Now, this is particularly scary for people who English is a second language for them or anyone with ADD or ADHD. There's a certain kind of person who cannot pull their eye away from motion. And so if you have a repeated GIF or a repeated animation, everything else on that site becomes invisible for that person, and they can only see that repeated animation over and over and over again. It becomes very.
Wouldn't that be? Wouldn't just what you said? Wouldn't it be cool if that GIF just kept repeating everywhere on your site, so it drives you nuts after about 7 to 10 seconds?
All right, the seventh way to make your site scary and to scare people away, and this may be one of the fastest ways to scare people away, is to use Flash. This is less common nowadays than it used to be. But you still run across Flash websites, which just kind of blows my mind.
Hey, Flash is the standard, baby. Back in 1998, it was the standard.
Yeah, if you wanted to have a little Jack-in-the-Box pop up and wave, Flash was the way to do it. So Flash is a technology and that allowed for animations and videos on websites. And it used to be the only good way to add animations and videos to websites. But it was always very buggy, and it added all kinds of security vulnerabilities, both to the website and to your computer if you had Flash on it. 10 years ago, Apple decided not to support Flash on the iPhone. And now mobile's kind of a big deal. And at first, Android supported Flash, but now Android doesn't even really support Flash, which means that if you have Flash on your website, it's not going to work for all mobile users, or almost all mobile users. But wait, there's more. Now, even browsers like Firefox don't come with Flash anymore. You have to add it separately. And so there's actual desktop users that also don't have Flash. And so what may look beautiful and interactive and shiny and whiz-bang and zoom on your website will just be a broken image for most other people, and that will scare them right away. They will go straight to the next author's website or somewhere else.
I love it.
All right. The next way to scare people away from your website is to make it slow. People on the internet are in a hurry, and so you want to be as slow as possible. It is your job to change internet culture. You want people to sit back, smell the roses, brew a cup of coffee
time
while they're waiting for your website to load. The reality is, after 2 seconds, you've already lost something like half of your visitors if it takes your site that long to load. So if you want your site to load slowly, and this goes back to our last episode, you want to go with hosts like GoDaddy or 101. You want to avoid fast hosts like WP Engine. Media Temple, because you want it to be slow to scare people away, because this is Halloween.
That's right. Number 9 is your splash page. When people visit your site, they want to see your content. So, consequently, your content needs to be the last thing you show them. What you want to do is create a page that has a giant photo of you with no information on it that's useful to them, and really make your enter the site really, really small.
Oh,
Make
Jim, you're thinking small. We can combine this. That splash page, that photo of
Yeah.
you, it needs to also have your kids and your dog, and it needs to autoplay music, and it's got to have some video with some automatic motion. We could do it all in one splash page.
One page. You can get it all done. Well, and what that does, what's cool about that is they never even get to the real site. They're gone before they even get to the real site. So this is probably a key point that people need to apply.
If you want to see this done well, go to your favorite presidential candidate's website. I guarantee you there's going to be a splash page with a picture of them asking you to donate money to them. I kid you not. You pick any political candidate, it's very popular to have splash pages in political world. It's very sad.
Yeah, think about it this way. And it's cool. Splash pages can be really cool, but think about it this way. One of your favorite movies you've got on DVD, for example, still, and you go to the menu and it has this incredible animation stuff going on, and finally the menu comes up. Well, the first time you see that, it's awesome. But then when you go to watch the movie again, it's like, come on, I've already seen this. That's how people feel about splash pages that go on and on.
That's right. And those early DVDs where it had this big, long video that you couldn't skip, that was like the introduction to the menu.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh, my God. That was, also, by the way, filled with spoilers. So it's like, oh, that guy dies, or, anyway, it's don't splash pages. They are very 1999. They were a bad idea in 1999. They are still a bad idea today.
All right, Thomas, what is number 10? We've got 13. This is number 10. What's number 10 on how to scare people away from your website?
Request people's private information. People don't know.
I like that.
Yeah, people
I like
don't know
that.
that you're a
That's good.
stand-up person. They don't think that you're a good guy. That you are, for all they know, you're a crazy author. And to be quite honest, if you write fiction, you probably are a little crazy, because you have voices in your head, and they show up in your book, and they say things to you. And then you're like, oh, I'm a crazy author. Will you please give me your phone number and your mailing address and your zip code? And people are like, wah! And they run for the hills. It's like, if you find yourself in a horror movie, there's a couple of rules. 1, don't go anywhere by yourself. And 2, the one with the most guns tends to survive. Don't give your private information away to anyone. Also, avoid putting a privacy policy near your sign-up form. Even if you're going to ask for an email field, don't say, I will never sell or rent your information. Your privacy is safe with me. Don't say that, because our goal is to scare people away. We want to be as, mysterious as possible, where they are typing in their email address and they have no idea where it goes. And that is guaranteed to scare people about your website.
Big hesitation on that. Love that. Number 11 is make your website hard to use. There are a certain number of people that all they want to do is come and buy the book. So you want to make getting to that book really complicated. The last thing you want to do is like put your latest book on your homepage where people can get to it easily. You want to have them drill down to 3, 4, maybe 5. I mean, if you can get them drilling down to 10 pages before they can buy the book, oh my gosh, that is wonderful in scaring people away.
Right. You want your website to be like a haunted house where people have to explore room after room after room before they finally find the bag of candy at the end as the reward. Or is it candy? So we want to make your website so hard to use that people quickly go somewhere else to buy your book, or to not buy your book at all, because this is the Halloween special.
I love it. Number 12 is one of my personal favorites. I love this because I love this on author sites, and I also love it on any other site, because this happens a lot on no matter what your website is. And that's the scary 404 page.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then some of you are going, what's a 404 page? A 404 page is simply when you click on something in a website and it takes you to a page that says that page is not available, that link is not working, and a lot of times it'll say 404, and essentially it's a broken link. And these happen all the time, and they're wonderful for people just going, Oh man, okay, I'm gone. And they leave without ever coming back to your site. It's great.
Yeah, now there are tools like the 301 Redirects plugin for WordPress and Google Webmaster Tools that can tell you about the 404s on your site, and the redirection tool will even help you create redirections where if someone goes to that page, they're now taken to the new page or a correct page that helps them. You don't want to use tools like that. You don't want to use the W3C link checker that quickly checks your whole website for 404 pages and gives you a nice report so you can go in and fix them. No, you want to go in and change your pages so you have as many 404s as possible to scare people away from your website.
All right, Thomas, we have reached number 13. So
dun, dun,
lay it
dun.
on us, please.
The 13th and final way to scare people away from your website is to have old information. You want to have the youngest, most attractive version of you from 20 years ago so that you are able to stay anonymous everywhere you go. You want to have old information about your kids, old information about your books. You don't want to update anything. You want your website to be as irritatingly out of date as possible. And so you don't want to go with an easy to update system like WordPress. You want to go with something hard and difficult to update so that your website is never updated to get maximum scariness value out of your website.
Yeah, when you know you've reached this goal, when somebody comes up to you at a conference or comes up to you somewhere in public and goes, "Are you Thomas Umstattd Jr.?" Then you've made it. Then you've made it.
You have become a stranger in your own life. I was reading this book by Penn Teller, and he talked about how he lost 100 pounds and how he was suddenly anonymous because no one recognized him.
Wow.
And he hadn't been on TV since he lost all this weight. And he could sit on a park bench and no one would come up to him and know who he was because he was suddenly mysterious again. And so what he had to do, now for him, he's not an author, he's a celebrity, so he had to get on the things where people knew him and basically get his new face out there. And then suddenly he was a celebrity again. And so, but again, if you want to be scary, don't do that. You want to stay anonymous, stay hidden.
Our sponsor for this episode of the Novel Marketing Podcast is My Book Progress, which is just in time for another scary event, and that's NaNoWriMo, Novel Writing Month coming up here. And this is a free WordPress plugin, so free is a very good price. What it does is it lets you track your progress and will motivate you to hit your deadlines on your website. So this goes on your website. It will help you meet your deadlines. So if you're thinking about NaNoWriMo, this is the perfect plugin for you, and you can learn all about it at mybookprogress.com.
Yeah, we even have a special NaNoWriMo mode that will track, and it will assume you're trying to write the 50,000 words in November, and it will track it and give you a report on how you're doing each day, and it lets you post it to your website so your readers can help keep you accountable. It's really great motivation. And unfortunately, it's not very scary. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to add. But we do hope you've enjoyed this special episode of the Novel Marketing Podcast. Hopefully you will take this advice into consideration and make your website as not scary as possible.
If you'd like to hear your name and book mentioned on Novel Marketing, it's easily done. All you need to do is leave a review with your name and your book title and even your website in your review.
Yeah, we had a very nice review that came in. It was kind of epically long, so I'm just going to read a few selections from it. It was from C.R. Raunenson and said, hands down, the most essential non-craft-oriented writing podcast out there. These guys enter the game dedicated to help you master the often ignored subject of marketing. They talk about finding the right editor or agent, ways to advertise on social media as well as your website, and ways to delve into the data of running sales on your books so you can progress towards becoming a best-selling author. Even if you haven't gotten to these stages yet, this podcast will help introduce you to these important concepts. And he goes on and on. It's a really nice review. So thank you, CR. We really appreciate your review. And we appreciate all of you who leave us such kind reviews on iTunes and Google Play.
You've been listening to James L. Rubart and Thomas Umstattd Jr. on the Novel Marketing Podcast, giving you novel ideas on how to promote yourself and your writing, offline, online, and everywhere in between. We appreciate your listening.